Hello everyone, back in the Chef Whites again. We are going to be making a Gypsy Tart this time. It was very popular on Facebook. A lot of people commented, asked me to make it even before I put the poll up. Next week we'll be making a steak and ale pie, my own version. And then a week after we're doing ultimate chocolate brownies. I want to alternate it every week. So one week you get a sweet week, the next week you get a savoury week. So like I said, this week we're going to be making the famous Gypsy Tart. Now Gypsy Tart is a Kentish dessert. It's actually from the Isle of Sheppey. Now it's generally made with a pastry base and either evaporated milk or condensed milk filling with either demerara sugar or soft brown sugar. It's entirely up to you which one you want to use. All the combinations do work together, but I'm going to show you my version, how I've made it over the years. Now the pastry we use on the bottom will be a short crust pastry. I'm not going to put any extra sugar in it because of such a sweetness of the tart itself. If you're using condensed milk instead of evaporated milk, the tart will be even sweeter. So you don't want to get it too sickly, otherwise it's going to be quite difficult to finish. Now before I start, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watched the last week's video. The amount of likes, the amount of comments, just the amount of views as well. I checked this morning and it was sitting at 2.4 thousand views, which is about 2,350 more than I expected to get. So thank you very much to everyone. It really does mean a lot, and I was just so overwhelmed, and yeah, thank you guys. Right, so these are the bits you're going to need today to make the Gypsy Tart. We are going to make our own pastry as well, but you don't have to. I prefer to make my own pastry, but you can get some really decent pastries out there now. For example, the Just Roll pastries are actually really good for this kind of food. And also they're really good for pies, of which we'll be making next week. So it's entirely up to you guys. So next week, if you want to make your own pastry, go ahead. I'll show you how to make another short crust pastry for the video. If not, buy the one from the shops. Now, for the pastry, we're going to be using unsalted butter and plain flour. You don't really want to use self-raising flour. I prefer to use plain flour. Now, I won't show you all the measurements because it'll take too long, but what I will do, I'll put the entire recipe up with the video so you guys can watch the video and read it as you do it. Right, so those bits are for the pastry. Now for the actual filling, all it is 1 tin of evaporated milk and some dark brown soft sugar. Like I said, you can use condensed milk and demerara sugar, but it's entirely up to you. This is the one that I use. And also, one little secret that I've learnt, lemon. Now, the citric in the lemon will actually turn the milk a little bit sour, but it doesn't actually taste it in the Gypsy Tart. All it does, it helps it set better. So for example, if you squeeze lemon juice, if you're doing dauphinoise potatoes, into the cream, it will actually curdle the cream and make it really thick. That's because it's cured it. Now what curing does is basically the process of cooking foods without using any form of heat source. So if you put lemon juice onto a piece of fish, for example a bit of salmon, after between 30 seconds and about 7 minutes it will start to change colour almost instantly. Now this is the process of curing, or ceviche, like I said, and a lot of countries like Mexico, Peru, Argentina, Spain for example, this is very popular out there. But obviously we're not curing fish today, we're just using it to help the Gypsy Tart set a bit. So for the middle, like I said, you've got the brown sugar and you've got your evaporated milk, you've got your butter and your flour to make your pastry. You've got the option of using milk chocolate vermicelli or chocolate strands to put on top once it's finished. You need non-stick baking paper to blind bake the pastry case. Now what this is you are putting baking beads or coins or pasta shells on top of the pastry when it's going in the oven first of all, so it doesn't rise up. So then when you put the filling in, when it's ready, you put it back in, the base is already cooked. And then when you do put the Gypsy Tart in the oven, it's not actually cooking it, you're just letting it set. So it'll be a very low heat, a moderately low heat, only for about 5 or 10 minutes. Because it's already cooked, you don't need to cook it anymore. Now one more very important item in your cooking arsenal that you will need is a pair of scales. You can either use electric scales or non-electric. It's entirely up to you. I prefer personally to use electric scales. You get a more of an accurate reading. And also one thing you will need, especially to make a Gypsy Tart, is an electric whisk. Now I'm using a KitchenAid style whisk, but you can use obviously a handheld whisk or even one of these. But I wouldn't prefer to use that because you're going to be whipping the tart for at least 25 to 30 minutes. Now, a lot of recipes that you find on the internet will suggest to whip the tart for about 5 to 10 minutes. You can do that if you want to, but if you give it that extra time, you get more of a rise. The tart at the end result will be more fluffier, it'll be so much lighter, which means you can eat more. So unlike when you're whipping eggs, the longer you whip eggs up, it's going to split. You separate the protein from the water and it's buggered. With Gypsy Tart, the more you whip it, the better the result at the end. Now this tart pan that I'm using does have a removable bottom. This is really helpful when you're trying to get the pastry case and the finished tart out of it. So all you got to do is place a mug or a bowl on top, put that on like that, and it'll fall off and that'll stay on top. It's so much easier than trying to scoop it out of your hands, because that ain't ever going to work. And 9 times out of 10 it will land on your shoes. Instead of using baking beads or coins or pasta shells, I have picked up some chickpeas. Now the baking beads in the shop, you can get them for about £3 or £4. These are 75p. You can use these as many times as you like until they start to burn and fall apart, and chuck them away and grab a few more. It's as easy as that. Right, let's get the stuff measured and weighed out, shall we? I'm going to fast forward the video for you so you have to sit here watching me do it. I'll go through it with you quickly. You need 125 grams of plain flour, 55 grams of butter, cubed, so you can work it into flour easier, 3 tablespoons of water, no, that's not vodka, and then your hands. So now all the butter and the flour is in the bowl, I've actually doubled up the quantities that I'm going to use in the first place because I'm using a bigger tin. I'm using a 26cm round tin. So what I've done instead, I've used 250 grams of plain flour and 110 grams of unsalted butter. Now with your clean hands, you're going to want to combine it together. You're going to have to work quickly because you don't want the butter to melt too much, otherwise it'll go greasy. It's not good to work with. Now, to know when the actual pastry is done and to add the water, you're going to rub it in together until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. You don't want any lumps of butter or any lumps of flour in it, so that'll just make the pastry rank. See you on the other side. Now this is the end result of when you rub your flour and your butter together, like fine breadcrumbs, not massive lumps in them. These lumps here are soft, they just break down. At this stage, if you're making an apple crumble or anything like that, this is what you put on top of it. This will be your crumble mix. But we're not using it for crumble, we're making pastry instead. At this stage is when you want to add the water. And like I said, it's about 3 tablespoons worth. Add it a bit at a time, work it around with your fingers until you get a nice consistency with the dough. You don't want the dough wet and sticky, it's never going to work. You buggered your dough. You want it not dry, but not wet, about moderate. Nice and moist. Now if like me, you do put a little bit too much water in and the dough does go sticky, sprinkle a little bit of flour into it, only about a pinch or two, just to bind it back up again. Right, the way to tell if your dough's done and ready or not is pick it up out of the bowl in a ball form and press it with your thumb in the middle. Now, If it's too dry, you get cracks forming around the whole dough. If it's too wet, the dough will come back out and stick to your thumb. This to me looks like it's about ready. When your pastry is ready, unfortunately you can't use it straight away. You have to chill it in the fridge. I chill it for about an hour or two, but it is recommended to chill it for at least 24 hours. This way the butter can solidify again and it is much better. So wrap it in some cling film or whack it in a food bag, chuck it in your fridge, leave it a little while, make yourself a cup of tea, and we'll crack on rolling it out and get it in the oven. Now the pastry's been in the fridge for about an hour. It is much firmer and much better to work with. Just like that. Right, what you want to do is sprinkle your side with some plain flour. Don't plaster it with a load of flour, because when you put it in the oven and you can take a bite when it's ready and you get a mouthful of raw flour, there's nothing worse. Roll your dough out to about 2 inches bigger than what you need it to the actual tin. That way you can fit it in snug, overlap it and trim the excess off. It's safe trying to stretch it, making holes. Trust me, it ain't worth it. When you rolled your pastry out and think you're about there, grab your tin and have a little measure up. I said you want about 2 inches all around, just so it overlaps, you've got a bit to cut off. That's about perfect for this tin. Now there's nothing worse than trying to pick the pastry up now and it's splitting and sticking. You can't be having none of that. The little trick that I learned is, that actually I was taught by Kelly Cresswell, my old head chef. Roll your pastry onto your rolling pin and gently roll it away from the side. That way you can manoeuvre it anywhere you like to. And roll it over your tin. Boom, easy as that. Now tuck it in all nice and snug, but don't press it too hard. You don't want it sticking to the tin. It's just a waste of time. Right, your pastry's in your tin. It's about the width of a pound coin, which is perfect. Next, you're going to dock it with a fork. This stops it from rising too much. Go around a few times. Get around the edges as well. Then take your baking paper, do a square over it like that, rip it off. And what you're going to do is fold it like that, grab your 2 corners in the middle and measure it about right. What you want to do is try and get to a line around here and then trim it so it's not going too far over the tart case. As you can see, half of it is about 1 inch over the sides. When it's pressed down, it should be about flush. We're going to trim the edges off anyway. But when you try and put this in the middle, it all springs back a bit. Ain't no good. Best trick I've ever learned was to do this with it. Open it back up again. Do it 2 or 3 more times. It's much easier, much more malleable to get around the sides. Especially when you put your baking beans in. It's nothing worse. You spring it about everywhere, roll them into the middle. Ain't gonna work for you. Okay, so I've trimmed the edges off, thrown the excess away. Don't have to throw it away. You can keep it in your fridge for a few days. You can even freeze it down as well, which is quite ideal. As you can see, the paper isn't springing up anymore. It's staying down good. This is where you know you put your weight, like your lentils, your baking beads, or whatever you're using to keep it down. So when you put in your weight in the tart case, make sure you get low around the edges as well. There's nothing worse than have it perfect in the middle, it's all puffing out at the edges. Trust me, I've done that a few times. Evenly spread them out, like so. That's ready to go in the oven now. You want to set your oven at 180 degrees. This is going for 15 minutes. You're then going to take it out, remove the sheet with your desired weight on, and put it back in for another 5 to 10 minutes, just so it's golden and crisp and ready. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. I'm going to take the tart case out of the oven now, take the baking beads away from it, Put it back in for another 5 to 10 minutes just to finish off. One thing you should never do is use a damp tea towel or cloth to get things out of the oven. If it's damp and the food or tray is really hot, it turns the water into steam, and that's what burns you. So use a dry tea towel, a dry cloth, or even some oven gloves. Put your baking beads somewhere and no one's going to burn themselves on. Let them cool down for about 20 minutes, half an hour, till they're cool enough to go back into the container or back into a dish or wherever you're going to put them. Now the bottom is solid, but it's still not cooked. So in the oven for another 5-10 minutes, a little bit golden in the middle, the edges start to do already, and it's done. You let that cool down, and while it's cooling, we'll make the actual mix up. Okay, so the base has been in the oven now for 10 minutes on my watch. If you touch the base bottom, it should be hard, firm, and not soft or springing back. That's perfectly done. Put it to the side, we'll start making our mix up. All the bits you see here, what you need for the mix. 1 tin evaporated milk, 350 grams of dark brown sugar, and if you cut a lemon in half, give it 1 squeeze, that's how much juice you're going to need. Put it all in your mixer or in your bowl, ready to be mixed. Put the milk in first, sugar, give it a stir first to let some of the sugar dissolve. If you don't do that and you cook it, and when you eat it, it's going to be very grainy. It's going to be tasting like you're chewing on raw sugar, which is absolutely vile. Then add your lemon juice and whip it for 25 to 30 minutes. I've never actually done over 30 minutes myself, so I don't know what it's going to turn out like. But I'm just going to do it up to a limit of 30 minutes. One thing with a tin is, once you've poured the contents inside the bowl, fold the lid down, and squeeze the tin. Then when you throw away your rubbish and someone picks up a bag, you don't slice your leg open. Trust me, I've seen it done and it ain't pretty. So this is what it should look like. Once you've given it a little stir, let the sugar dissolve for 2 or 3 minutes, pop the lemon juice in and put it onto mix. Now it's starting to curdle a bit already, but not to worry, it's all part of the process. So now it's been whipping for 25 minutes. This is the consistency that you want on it. It's not quite soft peaks, but it does leave a trail. We take a bit out. It's thick, it's fluffy, smooth. That is a banging mixture. Okay, drop your oven down to 120 degrees. You don't want it that hot, you just want it just to set the mixture now. Take your bowl full of mixture and cool down pastry base and pour it in about 3/4 of the way up. Now I've got a little split here in my pastry, which is about 3/4 of the way up, so that's perfect, not to worry. If you have got other splits in your pastry, try and patch them, because the mixture's just going to leak out. It's going to make a bloody mess everywhere. You can see how thick and smooth the mixture is as you're pouring it in. It's just rippling as it hits each other. Right, do about halfway, give it a little shake, a little bit more in. Perfect. Let it settle itself out. We'll bang it in the oven. Now there's plenty of mixture in that bowl to do 2 of them. So if this one isn't enough for you, you want to make another one, crack on mate. Okay, let's put this in the oven then. You want to do it for about 5-10 minutes. It's not too long, it's not too hot, just so it sets it. You should get some nice little bubbles on top, you've got a few already, but when it sets you get a few more. It should go a bit of a darker colour as well. Find out in 5-10 minutes, won't we? So 10 minutes in the oven, and this is now the finished product. Give it a little wobble. If it wobbles a little bit, it's perfect. If it actually moves around, put it back in for a little bit longer, just to set a little bit better. And that's it, that's done. Now because it is such a sweet tart, you can eat it on your own if you want to, or what I like to do is put a nice dollop of creme fraiche on it. Because creme fraiche is a little bit tart, it'll take the edge of the sweetness away, and then to go perfectly. And that's your Gypsy Tart done. Easy as that. Thank you very much for watching again, guys. If you don't mind, click the like button and the share button. Let's get this video out there, and I hope you enjoy making it. If you do get a chance to make it, guys, I'd love to see it. Send me a picture or even post it to my timeline. I'd love to have a look at it. Any inquiries, any questions, Anything you want to know at all, drop me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.